Hello, everyone, and a very, very good morning to all of you. We're so pleased to see you back in the session today, and super excited to be back to do this weekend. We will start with visualization in Python. So for all of these past weeks, we've gone through a lot of learning when it comes to learning Python programming. It comes to learning libraries in Python such as NumPy, pandas, and we have now seen how to create arrays, how to create tuples, how to store data, etc. All of that, which have been real critical components in our data science journey. So now that we are back to being able to create these frameworks and use these frameworks for basic needs, including creating 2D arrays, 3D arrays, etc., etc., etc. It's now time we start with being able to visualize this data. So which is we need to now be able to plot this data on charts and graphs and create a first few dashboards. So today is all about creating those dashboards that will actually make you a data scientist. So I personally promise you that by the end of this session, you should be able to create your first set of charts and start utilizing them in any of your business needs. So when yes, sorry about that. I believe you're back in action. So Zoom just kind of disconnected my mic. I'm not sure why. So, okay, sorry about that once again. So we are back. And yes, so this weekend is all about creating those charts and dashboards by utilizing all of the data science that we have learned. So all the programming, I assure you, is already behind us. We have done the toughest it gets in programming, and we have gone past the toughest of the toughest when it comes to programming in Python. We have now reached a point where we are able to create charts and dashboards for showing to our management. So you can actually go back and on Monday morning, take your data, take your company's data, and you will be able to create charts and dashboards. And that's my personal promise. At the end of this session, you'll be able to create those charts and dashboards. Then tomorrow, we start with machine learning concepts, which is we dive deeper into how ML works. So we look at regression analysis, we look at decision trees, random forest, etc. So before we close the day for today, I will give you a sneak peek of how an ML program looks like, right? And we will take a quick look. So before we close at 4 p.m. today, we will take a quick look at how ML programs work. And you will get an idea and you will get to know that ML is actually very, very simple as compared to all the heavy duty coding you've done. So the coding only gets easier now. It actually doesn't become difficult. It's much easier going forward. So before we start, and I have Ashish with me, and he's been training with us for a very long time. And he's a fabulous trainer when it comes to everything related to you being able to visualize your data, including machine learning concepts, including all of the machine learning models. And he will take all the sessions when it comes to ML. And he's a super expert and a practicing data scientist himself, right? Which comes with tremendous experience in doing data science projects, running large-scale data science projects. And we have an expert teaching you today on how to think visually, how to think about making graphs, and how to make graphs that really appeal to your audiences. But before we get to it, right, I have a special announcement. And I know last week we promised you a special announcement, and here it is. So for all of you who want to continue your journey on this batch, who want to continue your seat, you can upgrade today into the 90 DS program. And we have a special offer that's running only for today. The offer, so that you know, you're already aware that the standard price of the course is 74,999 rupees, right? That's the full rack rate of the course. And many students have actually paid this amount, right? But I'm actually pleased to let you know that we have an offer going on, which is only for today. It's live now. You can go to our website. You should have received an email with the offer details. And we are giving out 66% discount directly to all of you if you want to upgrade your seat. So you've already done Python. Today, you'll be finishing with data visualization. And if you want to upgrade your seat, you can upgrade it for just 24,999 rupees. And you must complete the payment by 5 p.m. today. But we understand that paying one shot might be a problem. So we actually have an added EMI support wherein you can just pay 7,999 rupees right now. And that's all you need to pay to book your seat. Then additional 8,000 in 45 days, and then additional 9,000 in 90 days of your training. So it's basically very lucrative. You get 45 days to pay each and every installment. And at 7,999 rupees only, you can upgrade your seat, right? This is a discount for you to complete the entire course. If you do opt in for the placement support, which is given to all students, and we help you find the job, then you must pay the remaining 50,000 rupees. So you would eventually pay us 74,999. But for all of you who are here, who have been part of this course, who want to extend your seat, who want to learn everything of machine learning, because the programming part is already done, it's actually behind you. Now it only starts with learning ML, and ML is much simpler to learn than it is to learn Python programming. So you will get a sneak peek of data visualization today. And if you do upgrade your seat, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., you will have access again. This time it will be accessed within the Zoom session for you to continue onto the batch with your machine learning journey. And by end of July, this batch will be finished and you will actually be a data scientist. So if you're interested, we have this offer for you, and you should have received an email with all the details. Do not miss it if you want to become a data scientist. The purchase comes with a 30 days, no questions asked, money back guarantee. That is 30 days from the start of the batch. So even if you feel uncomfortable with ML, you still have time. You can request a refund. It's a 100% refund guarantee, right? And so don't miss the chance. If you want to become a data scientist, absolutely don't miss the chance. So let's get back to our main feature presentation for today, and let's get you all well-versed with creating these fantastic charts and dashboards. So Ashish, welcome to this session. We're really, really pleased to have you conduct this session for us. Let's make it a big bang. And yes, over to you, Ashish.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanket. Hello, everyone, and very good morning to all of you. Today, in this section, we are going to discuss about data visualization. So the first, let's understand what is data visualization, and after that, we will discuss Matplotlib and Cbon library. And it is widely used to plot different charts or the graph, or to perform data analysis using data visualization approach. So data visualization, it is a graphical representation of information. And now due to digitalization, even all industries has huge amount of data and service product related to customer feedback or services. And they're using data visualization approach to perform analysis on that. And as a data analysis or data scientist, we use this approach to perform analytic report and share with the managers. And managers use it to find the insights, or it also use those information to while designing some policy. So now in this section, we'll discuss about that how to implement data visualization using Matplotlib and Cbon library. So Matplotlib and Cbon, these two very famous library and very powerful library. We use it to plot different charts or the graph. Yeah. Okay. So here we'll import some couple of couple of libraries, and then import some data and use our Matplotlib and Cbon library to plot different type of the graph. So here we have import keyword. In Pythons, we use import keyword. So all of you, you can start Jupyter Notebook. You just need to install Anaconda uh, software, and after that, start run Jupyter Notebook, and it will open in the web browser. Then we are just using here import keyword to import different libraries. Or so here import, and then again so we are importing here Matplotlib library. So Matplotlib is widely used to plot different types of the graphs, or to implement data visualization, pandas to perform data analysis, data cleaning, and NumPy numeric Python. We can use this library to perform some linear algebra statistics problems. To solve many linear algebra and statistic problems, we can use a NumPy library. So here we'll use our pandas and import some data set, and then after we will export different Matplotlib functions to plot different types of the graph or charts. Okay, so now let's understand through some example here, everyone. So we will discuss a different function of the Matplotlib. So in Matplotlib, we will use this pyplot submodule to plot different types of the charts or the graph. Okay, and using that will use their function like a scatter plot, like subplot, line plot to plot different types of the graph, pie plots. So we will explore one by one, and then we will also discuss how to design analytic report after this particular once we are good with this data visualization functions of Matplotlib. So here, so let's create some information. We just create some kind of uh, you can say there's some kind of data points, and then I'm using a NumPy library and use Matplotlib library to plot different types of the graph. So here let's say x point equals to np.array. Let's suppose that there is some data point 1 and 3, and y point np.array. Okay, so here we have x and y point, and now we will use a Matplotlib function. So we are just replacing like Matplotlib as a PLT. So here from the PLT dot, let's say plot x point. So we'll just take a x-axis like x point and the y point here. Then PLT dot so. Okay. So everyone, you can see by default PLT dot plot is used for the line plot. And you can see on the x-axis we are taking x, on the y-axis we are taking y. So as of now we have very, we are just taking some dummy value, very random numbers, and plotting this graph. But later on we'll also work with some business data, banking, finance, insurance, or healthcare. Will import some data set and use data visualization approach to find the insights from the data, and then we will use all the particular charts in the graph and design some analytic report. So that's something we will discuss, that how to use this approach to analyze any data, or to extract hidden informations from it, or to how to use this approach to check relationship between different variable, or to design data-driven solution. So that's something we will discuss in detail. First, we will explore all the different functions of the Matplotlib and the Cbon library. Okay. So here the same. Let me just copy this point here. So let's suppose if you just want to define some kind of the point. So here we have x and y, these 2 points. For when the x is 1 and the y is, you can see we are just taking these particular information 1 and 3 and 3 and 12. So we have this one. Even you can also change the particular color. So let's suppose that so you have red color here. You can even, let's define the particular label, plt dot x label. So here you can just define x point, plt dot y label, and y point. So here we have the particular x and y label also. You can also define the title. Let's say so we have to also, we can define the particular between x and y. So as of now, we are just exploring some basic function of the Matplotlib library. Let me give you an example of it. So what is the real-time example? Because later on we will be work with some business data. Okay. So let's say there's in any particular industry. Okay, let's say manufacturing, retail, or insurance, or healthcare sector, any particular industry. So the top managers, CEOs, so they use a different dashboard to as a data reporting tool to monitor performance of industry. Okay, and in the particular dashboard, so there's a different KPI they use it. KPI is kind of key performance indicator. For any industry, the KPI, it could be total sales. Okay, so similar way for our total production. And all the managers, CEOs, they use the particular dashboard to monitor real-time performance, okay, or the growth. If the graph is moving into the upward direction, so this means all good, right? If the graph is moving into some in the upward direction, so it means all good. If the graph is moving into the downward direction, means there's something wrong, right? And if there's some kind of the trend, so obviously the managers and the CEOs, they will not happy to see such kind of a trend. Okay. So similar way, there's a one banking industry, and from all the managers, they are using the KPI or the dashboards to monitor the performance of their entire industry. For one of the banking industry, for them, the KPI is total number of customer. And from the last couple of the month, lots of the customers are closing their account. So the graph is moving into the downward direction, and all the managers or policymakers, they are not happy to see such kind of a trend. They want to know that what has happened in the past, why the customers are closing their account, which factor influencing such kind of a trend. They want to know that. And as a data scientist, okay, we can ask the particular bank, okay, give us all the particular customer informations, the customers who left bank, and also the customers who did not close their account. And we can use a data visualization or statistic approach to perform analysis on that. And we can design some analytic report, final report, and share with the manager. And they can use those particular report to find answers of all business questions. So here we will discuss that how to use this data visualization approach to perform analysis or to get answers of all the business question. But before that, we will just exploring like different function of the Matplotlib and Cbon. and then we will also work with some business data and discuss how to design, how to perform analysis, how to approach or how to design strategy to perform analysis, and then finally how to design analytic report. So let's suppose that we have some data points. So data points, you can just assume that it is information. It's kind of information. Okay, we have some information of any particular customers, and we are just discussing like how to use data visualization approach to perform analysis or to plot different types of the charts of the graph. Okay, so if you have a multiple points, let's suppose that we are just taking 2 point here. If you have multiple points, okay, so here we have x and y points, and so you can also use it plt dot plot. Let's define the particular x point and y point. Okay, and then plt dot show. So here we are using a plt. So first we are just defining the x and y here. Then plt dot plot, it is used for to plot the, by default it just take a particular line plot. Then again we are defining the x value and the y value. So everyone, you can see first we are just defining the particular x and y kind of information we have. Okay, and then plt dot plot, so it's just for the line plot, and we are just defining x and y. Then plt dot show to print or to visualize the particular graph. And same thing here also, we're defining the label part. So let's suppose that when if you want to define some label on the x-axis, on the y-axis, so you can also take the particular x plt dot x label, x point, y label, y point, and the title also you can define that. Okay, so plt dot show. And if you want to define the color, so you can also define the different color also. Let's suppose that for red you can define R, for the black K, for the blue B. Okay, and for yellow Y you can define different color. So color equals to, let's suppose that for yellow Y. So we have all these particular point. Right? You can also define the particular for K for the black. So we have black color. And if you define the particular B for the blue, so we have the blue color. Right? Right. You can also define here, let's suppose that if you define the particular the makers, or let's say like so we have the dot color format of, right? You can also define the particular maker equals to star. Then we have a star format. So generally it's something a makers, and you can define this particular point here. So by default, you just take this value. If it's something a star, so you can see all the points are in the form of the star. Right. Then again here you can also specify the plt dot x label, and so let's suppose that x value plt dot y label, and here you specify the particular y value. Then plt dot show, again to plot the particular information to further visualize this graph. Okay, here you can also specify the plt dot grid, and it's true. So here you can see we have a grid also in the particular this graph. We have some grid as well. Okay, all of you can see that. So we are just defining the grid. So now we have the grid between inside of this particular graph. You can also specify the axis for the grid. Okay, you can also specify axis for a grid. So let's suppose that you want to define the grid only for the x-axis along with the x-axis. So you can also define this particular part. So let's say for the grid, axis equals to and x-axis. So along the particular x-axis value, it will be written grid. So see here, along the particular x-axis value, we have the grid path. If we define the particular axis equals to the y, so along the y-axis value, it will be written all the particular the grid path. Here you can see, right? So we have this different. Even you can also define. So Matplotlib is very powerful library, and using that we can plot different custom graph also, and we can there is some inbuilt particular functions for the scatter, for pie, for the bar plot, and we can use it to plot or to visualize our information. So usually in real times, maybe you have, let's suppose that you have information of the 10,000 customers of any bank. Let's suppose that you have information of salary of the 10,000 customers of the, customers of the particular any bank, and as well as you have information of their credit score, you have information of their age. Now you want to perform the analysis, you want to check if there's any relationship between salary and the credit score, there's any relationship between salary on age, or the pattern you want to check it. So here in this case, we can use a data visualization approach or Matplotlib library to plot information, and now we can easily interpret the graph. The reason that is become very famous data visualization performed for analysis, because here we'll get a particular some graph or image, and we can easily interpret images as a compared to value. So let's suppose if I'll give the loss of the value, so maybe it will be take some time for the calculations to interpret or extract information. But if there's a graph or if there's some image, so we can easily interpret that particular image or extract information. And that's why it is widely used, because it's widely used to analyze any data or to perform analysis or to extract hidden informations or the patterns from data sets. So as of now, let's suppose if we have a credit score, we have a salary. So in this way, we can plot the different graph. Now let's suppose that there's also one more function. Okay, let's take it here. X equals to np.array five, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and here we can also define the y equals to np.array, and here let's take it here like 12, 13, 23, 45. So let's count it, the length of this particular part. So I have 3, 6. Okay. Right. So we have x and y here, and whenever you have x and y, means some information and both variables are numeric. So here in this case, in order to extract the particular patterns or in order to check the pattern or relationship, we also use the particular, we can use a scatter plot. So here for the scatter plot, x, you can just use it, scatter, and now x-axis x and the y-axis you can define the particular as a y. You can also specify the particular, the color equals to the red color. Okay, and plt dot. So here everyone, you can even, let's specify the plt dot x label, and just define the x label as a particular the x value, and plt dot y label as a y value, and plt dot title. Here you can just define the particular the scatter graph between x and y. So here we have a scatter graph between x and y, and you can see when x is given, then we have a y value and we have the scatter graph between them, right? And you can also specify the particular x label and the y label here. Even let's specify the particular grid also. So plt dot grid, and you can just specify the grid inside of it, right? In this way, you can specify this particular part. You can also specify here plt dot, and now we have the particular, we can see, okay, we'll see this particular part here. Let's make a comment as of now. In the next graph, we'll see. We also need to define the particular x and y value, then we'll get that particular informations as well. Okay. So everyone, all of you can see that we have x and we have a y value, and we are also specifying the particular, the title. You can also define the title. Let's suppose that you have a multiple graph. As of now, we are just plotting single information here. But now let's suppose that in the real time, you have some data, like you have some informations like age of the customer. You also have informations like a salary, and you also have informations like their credit score. And in the same window, you want to plot the multiple graph. Let's say some graph represent the scatter graph between x and y. Some graph should be represent the particular histogram of the particular or the distributions of the x, or some graph should be represent as a particular pie chart between some other variable. Okay, so in the same window, same particular window, if you want to plot the multiple graph, so here we can use a subplot module. Use a particular subplot module, and using that you can plot the multiple graph in the same window. So let's see here. Okay, so let's suppose that we have a particular x equals to np dot array, and now we can specify, let's suppose that it's something 0, 1, 2, and 3, and y equals to np dot array, and here let's specify the particular 3, 8, 1, and 10, some random value here. Okay, now in the same window you want to plot the multiple graph. Okay, so let's suppose there's somewhere we want to plot the scatter, or sometimes we want to plot the particular line plot between x and y in the same window, but the two different type of the graph. So in this case, you can specify the particular submodule. So plt dot submodule, or subplot, my bad, subplot. Now let's suppose that you want to plot the particular two graph in the same row and the two column, one row and the two column. In the first column, there should be the first graph, and the second column, the first row, one row and the two column, right? So in the first row and the first column, we want to plot the scatter, and in the particular first row and second column, we want to plot the particular some other type of the graph, like a line plot. So you can also specify like 1, 2, okay, or 1 first graph. So 1, 2 represent the one row and the two columns, because we just want to plot the two graphs of one row and the two column. And the first graph is this one, plt.plot x and y. Okay, so you can just specify here plot 1. Now plot 2 is something a plt dot subplot, and here let's specify first, second, and second. The first row, second column, two column, and the second graph, that's something we are going to plot it. So plt dot here plot x and y, color equals to red. And now we can just say that plt dot show. So everyone, you can see we have a particular x and y here, and even we can also define x label and the y label. You can also specify here, and we can also label it. But it's something 1, 2 means one row and two column. In the one row, two column, it's just shape, right? In the first image is something between plot between x and y. In the second, it's just we just want to plot between x and y, and the shape should be like make a equals to like O, and the color is red. So let's say what happened if you specify 2 rows and 1 column. So 2 rows and 1 column, because we just want to plot 2 graph, but 2 row, and there should be 1 column. So we have 2 rows and 1 column only in this format. Right. And we can plot it. Let's do one thing. Let's import some real data and perform the same operation. So I'm just going to use the particular df, and df equals to pd dot read underscore csv. I have some data set, so I'll just import it here, and then we'll perform this operation. So you can just go to the specific, we'll share with you this data set. Okay, so let's take it some data like insurance data. Just copy the path of this image, and here paste the path of this particular image or location of it. So I hope all of you are familiar with the pandas function. So we are just using the head function, and it will be written the starting 5 rows of the particular your data frame. Okay, if you'll specify the 10 here, the starting 10 rows. So let's suppose that we want to use a subplot, and in the subplot so here we have information of the customer of one of insurance company, and for every customers we have information of their age, sex, BMI, body mass index, children, smoker, region, and charges. Such information. Let's suppose that we want to plot the graph between age and the charges and the BMI and the charges. Okay, using a subplot module. So here we'll just use the same approach here. So let's see. But now this is the real-time data, and let's take it this part. And you can just specify, let's say this is something age. So we are just selecting age here, and now we'll select the particular charges. Okay, and now let's take it the scatter plot. Scatter, and here you can also specify the color equals to the red color, right? Let's also specify we want to plot between the particular age and the BMI. And the color equals to, let's take it K. K means black color. Okay, and now we have the plt.soap. So you see we have two different, okay, here let me just take it the scatter here also. Scatter, and so we have a two different graphs. So one is between the particular age and the particular, or you can also take it here like let's say 1,2, or here you can also specify the particular the 1,2. So we have a particular scatter between the charges and the particular age and the BMI, these two graphs. Even you can also specify label. You can also specify label. So plt.x label, and let's define the particular the x label. So x-axis we have particular the age, and plt.y label, and here we have informations like a particular charges, right? And now here on the x-axis we are just taking a particular age, on y-axis is a particular the BMI, right? So here we have a particular labels as well. We can also specify the some space, so it will be more better, right? If you want to increase the particular size of it, so even you can also specify the plt.figure or the particular the figure, and then here you can just specify the particular the fixed size. So you can just specify the size of the figure. Let's suppose that 8x8. So we have a particular now better graph. You can also specify, let's take it here 8 cross particular the 5 cross 12. So we can have a particular the different type format of the particular the graph you can see. So let's take it the 15 or 12 cross 8. So we have this graph. So you can also increase or the particular, you can set the particular size of the graph also. If you want to save this figure, so here you can specify plt dot save figure, and let's specify the location, so you can save or you can download this particular image or analysis this report as well. So everyone will also discuss later like how to perform interpretations or how to read such graph or how to extract information. Okay, so you can specify the location Let's suppose that we want to save it as a JPG format. Now, everyone, you can just save this particular diagram, and sorry, you can specify this particular. You can specify the location, and now if you go to this location here, you see we have this particular diagram. So you can use a save fig to save or to download this particular diagram. Okay, and in this way we can download it. So this is something a sub module. Let's suppose that if you have a particular, you want to perform analysis, and in the same plot you want to plot the 6 different graph. So according to that, you can define the subplot section and use a different relation between you. You can take it the different variables and the plotting strategy to plot or to visualize information. Okay. So far we discussed about the line plot, how to define X label, Y label, or save the particular any diagram subplot section. Now let's take it about some bar plot or histogram, okay, or the pie chart. So here we have, let's suppose that here we have information of the customers of the insurance company. We have the informations like age, information of age of all 1,338 customers of insurance company. Now let's suppose that you want to, you want to like analyze. So this is the continuous variable. You want to analyze the distributions of data. Okay, let's suppose that we have information of the particular charges of the particular 1,000 insurance charges for the health insurance. We have information of 1,338 customers, their annual health insurance charges, right? Their annual health insurance charges. Now you want to analyze this particular data. So in this case, you can use a strategy like a particular histogram and plot information and check the particular distributions of data. So here the plt.hist, and you can just specify the charges and then plt.show. If you want to take it like you can also define the color equals to, let's say, yellow. So we have a particular, you can see we have a particular bins also. They are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 bin. And everyone, you can see that we have a bin width is also approximate 0 to the 5,000s. And y-axis represent the frequency, x-axis represent the distributions of charges. So you can see the number of the customers, their annual, their particular AMI is in the range of 1K to the particular approximate, the 6K is around to the 500. And even you can see that most of the customers, their annual insurance health AMI is very less, but also some customers, for them it is very, very high, right? Here you can also specify, let's suppose that plt dot X label. So on the x-axis we have a charges, and plt dot Y label. Here we have a particular the frequency. Plt dot title, and you can just specify the particular histogram, right? You can also specify the plt dot grid. So we have entire information everyone, right? We have the histogram of it. Similar way, we can also use the particular pi. So whenever you have one continuous variable and you want to analyze on it the distributions of data, so always use histogram. If you have a two continuous variable, you want to analyze the relationship between them, so use scatter graph. Okay, use scatter in that case. If you have one particular continuous variable, so one categorical variable. So let's say the categorical variable, let's say here we have information like in this data set, we have a variable like a smoker, which contain information whether customer is a smoker or not. Region, so we have is contain the 3 or the 4 different categories. 6 is contain the information of gender of the customer. So these variables are categorical. So whenever you have a categorical variable, so you can use a count plot, you can use a particular the pie chart and check informations, right? So we'll also discuss that how to use a pie chart to plot the information here. But before that, let's see about the particular bar graph. Okay, so even you can also use a bar graph to represent whenever you have one categorical variable, but again, it's widely used to represent the information of the categorical and continuous. So let's suppose that here we have x equals to np dot array, and you can define, let's suppose that we have array of the different label, and you can also specify the particular frequency of it. So let's suppose that the frequency is around to 3, 8, 15 all the time. Okay. So now in this case, if you want to, so let's suppose I assume you have one categorical and one continuous variable. So in this case also you can use a particular, or you have a particular one categorical variable and you just want to check a frequency of the each label or categories. So the first we are creating a array of all the particular frequency of each label, and we are also creating a particular list of all the labels or array of all the particular labels. Now you can use a particular the bar graph here, and in the bar graph just specify x and y. So x is contain all the label and y is represent the frequency. So plt dot x label, and here you can just specify x label is represent the particular x value, and plt dot y label is represent the particular the y value. Then plt dot show. So we have, you can see the x-axis is the particular label and y-axis represent the frequency of it. And then we have a color. You can also specify the particular color is red. So now we have in the red color. If you specify the color equals to the y, so we have into the black color for the k. If you specify the b, so we have a blue color format. You can change the color patterns as well. You can also specify the plt dot grid, and here just specify the grid is in the particular x-axis or the y-axis. So we have the grid over the y-axis as well, right? So as of now, we are just exploring different function of the Matplotlib. We will also use this function to plot different types of the graph, or we'll also use the particular this function to perform analysis or to design some analytic report or to extract hidden patterns or relationship between the variables or to extract different patterns or the information from any data set. Right. So let's see about the particular this pie chart. So even as we discussed, we can also use the particular pie chart section to plot pie chart or the box plot. Okay. So let's suppose that here again we have a same x and y value. I'm just printing print x, the particular the print the y value here. Okay. Y value. So we have this one. So now you can even also use the plt dot py, and now let's suppose define the particular the first we define the values. Okay. So we have a values is a particular the y, and there's a label is x, right? We have a particular label is x, or you can also specify the value is y and the labels is x. Then plt dot show. So we have a pie chart also. Even we can also calculate the percentage and represent this particular part. So if whenever you have one categorical variables, or so in this case also you can use a pie chart to represent or to visualize the information. Here we are just working with a 4 or 5 sample, but in the real time it may be more than 1000 or 10k 20k informations, and we can use this pie chart to summarize the entire information, right? So even you can also here define the particular the export function for explode it. So let's suppose you can also define the particular explode part. So you see how many label we have. Four data points. There are 4 data points. Okay. So even you can also define the particular export function here. So let's suppose that on the first parameter, on the first label A, we want to define some export like a 0.1, then 0, 0, and 0. So see everyone, now we have this is something a bit outside of it, the export part. If you not define it, so by default it will be in this format only, but you can again also define the particular the export part here. If you define this particular, so let's suppose that because in the label, if you see the label is the first 1, so we are defining the export for the 0.1, so it's something in this outside of it, outer side of it. If you define here also, let's suppose that for C also you want to define some kind of the export part for the 0.2, so we have for 0.2 here as well, or 0.1, like that. You can also calculate the percentage and define the particular percentage part as well. So here you just specify the auto percentage. Okay, so auto percentage, so it will be automatic calculate the percentage for it. And let's say for after the two decimals, so we just want to print it here, plot values. Okay, so we have a percentage also, this particular the the 22% of the values are related to the label B, and 41.67% of the value C, and 27 point is something value D for it. So we have our total percentage is a particular the 100, but we have a particular, you see the maximum 47% of the values or ranges belong to the label C. So in this way also, whenever you have one categorical variable, you can use a particular the pie chart to check the information. Okay. Now let's suppose that you have some more information. So let's suppose that for any particular city of any country, so you have information of their temperature. So the first you can just create a let's take it some value here. So we have a particular some temperature informations like np dot array, and here we have information of the temperature of the cities of any country. So let's suppose that 20 or 24, 25, 26, 41, 35, 36. Let's suppose that 12, 10, 25, 45, 46, 32, 31. So we have these information. So whenever you have one continuous variable, so you can also, we generally use a particular histogram, but there is also one plot which is widely used to check the outliers. Okay, or it is also known as a particular statistic graph to analyze data. Okay, so that's something a particular a box plot we can use it. Okay, we can use a particular, the box plot to represent it. So in the box plot, so we have like a plt dot box, and you can just use a particular the box plot section, and now just pass the particular the value here. So let's suppose that we have value x, which is contain the array of array the x, which is contain all the temperature information. Now you can also specify the grid and of particular the grid part, then plt dot show. So we have a temperature value as well, and we have a particular, so whenever you're using a box plot, it's written the particular box type of the particular, it's written basically the box type of the particular the graph. That's why it's represent as a particular box plot. Now let's discuss that how to interpret this graph. Okay, so the first I'm just going to save this figure. So I'll just say that plt dot save figure, and here I'll just can specify some location. So I'll just take it this location here, box plot. Now we have this particular graph. Now let's discuss that how to interpret this graph and extract information. So what is the name of that graph? Is box, no? Let me check it with is it present or not. So we have a box plot. Let me check the name of that image as well. So the name of image is a box plot. Uh, okay, got it. So now we have there's a box plot here. So let's so there's a box plot. So everyone, you can see we have here the box plot, and in the box plot it is a statistic graph. So here this is something, this point and this point is represent the particular the upper threshold here, or upper or the lower whisker point. Okay, so if any value is outside of the particular this threshold, it is known as a particular outliers. Okay, this particular value, okay, so here you can see everyone here, almost this one is represent the quarter one value. This particular value is something quarter two, and we have quarter three. So this is something also 75 percentile value, 50 percentile value, or the median, and 25 percentile value. So you can see the 25 percentile value is a 25 approximate. Okay, and now you can see how many data points there are. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 and 14 data points. So the 25 percentile value is a 25, and we have a 14 data points, right? So it means that 14 divided by the 4 means 3.5. So approximate 3 or the 4 value is in the particular array, it is in the range of the 10, or the lower point is, let's suppose, the 10, in the range of 10 to the 20. Approximate 3 or the 4 value is in the range of 10 to the 25. Approximate the 3 value is in the range of the 25 to the 28. Approximate 3 values in the range of 28 to the particular 36, and approximate the particular 3 values in the range of the particular 38 to the almost the 46. And it is a statistic graph. We use this approach to analyze data, okay, or to perform analysis on that. So it's a statistic graph. We have the statistic value, and we can interpret it with, okay, and extract information from it. It is also use it to check the particular outliers, whether in our data set is some outliers present or not. We use this approach widely. So everyone, so far we discussed that how to use the pie chart, how to use a particular, the box plot, how to use a particular scatter, or even the particular normal histogram or the line plot, and how to use a subplot module to plot the multiple graph on the same window. Okay, how to define X label, Y label. Okay, and we are going to use this particular thing to perform the analysis. Okay, or to analyze the particular entire data set, and we'll also see that how to design analytic report on that, how to perform the analytic report, design the analytic report from there. So even you can also use it to import some images. So let's suppose that if you have some image, so here you can just import the particular cv2 library, and from the cv2 you can okay, so there are a couple of questions. Let me check this part. So the one question from the Purnima, like what key that you are pressing to get the different function. So you see after this particular cv2 any library, just dot, then press the particular tab, and it will be return the particular all the functions of it. Okay, press tab and it will be written all functions of it. So again, the next question is Manikanta. So like data is a clean data. So this data is clean data as of now, but in real time, whenever we import the data, we also check it whether like our data is clean or not. So let's suppose that here we have a data like a df dot head. If you check it here, okay, so you can just check it like a particular is null. Okay, and then dot sum. So if we can see that if there's any missing value, you can also check the particular info part, and through the info you can just try to interpret it from the particular their value also. So in the pandas, if any variable contain data in the form of the string, so their data type must be the object format. So let's suppose that age data type is object format. It means that there's something wrong with the value, because age should be the numeric, so it should be into the integer format, right? So as of now, it's look fine. So data, the data type is also into the proper format. And if there's any duplicates value, if there's an unwanted column, so we remove it, we drop it. If there's some unwanted value, so we use a different approach, like a statistic approach to perform data cleaning operation. Okay. So again, the next question from the, Abhijit, like what is the subplot? Okay, let me check. What is the subplot? Subplot is doing only aligns the graph to each other's. Or okay, so subplot, you see we have one window size here, right? By default, it's taking some window size, like size of the particular this graph or this window. Okay, and now in the when we are using a particular one plot, one particular, when, okay, let me explain to here. You see everyone. So when we are use in the starting, we're just it's taking a default, default format of the particular the graph, and we are using it to plot the same one informations. Okay, or to plot the one graph using a subplot section. So in the subplot, we are defining, let's suppose a 2 comma 2 comma 1 here first. So it means that there will be the two. So entire this section, it will be divided into the 2 cross 2. And now first we can plot the first graph here, first plot here, here and here. The 4 different types of graph we can plot it. If you're defining the subplot, let's suppose it as a 2 comma 1. So let's suppose that by default your window size is this one. So it will be divided into the 2 rows and 1 column. So 2 rows and the 1 column. So use this one. Now we can plot some graph here and the one graph here. If you're defining the particular subplot sections, let's suppose that 1 comma 2. Okay, so 1 comma 2 means 1 row and the 2 columns. So this is your default window size, and 1 row and the 2 columns means it will be in this way, and one graph we can plot it here and second graph we can plot it here. So this is the subplot module. Then again, the figure size. So figure size, it's just used for to increase the particular, the size of the particular images. We can just define the rows and the columns over there, and it will be 8 cross or 4 cross 8. So it will be just increase the size of it. How to increase or decrease the bin width in the particular histogram? So we have a function here. You can also specify the particular the bin width in the particular histogram. So let's suppose that here, if you want to define the number of the bins, or there is a particular the bin widths also, you can also define the number of the bins. So let's suppose the number of the bins is, you want to take it like a 15. So automatic, it just takes the particular the 15 bins, and automatic is just decide the take a width of it, and it return the graph. You can also define the particular bin width here. Okay. And even you can also specify the particular the bin width in this section to plot it. Okay, so let's suppose that here, let me use the same graph. If I just use a particular number of the bins is, let's suppose that 15. So it's just written the total number of the bins is equals to the 15, as you can see here, right? And even you can also specify the particular, the density part or the number of the bins also, and the range of the particular the bin width as well. You can specify this particular part. Okay, so let's suppose that I'm just going to take this copy here and plot it here. You can also define the particular the width of it. So let's suppose that 10, 20, 1000. So it automatic take this particular value, and okay, it's automatic just take this particular value here. Or you can also specify the particular the size of it. Okay. Or even you can also define the particular, the range of it as well. So there is some custom function, even you can also define it, or you can also define the particular, the bin size, bin weight, all this particular part, you can define it here and custom this, your particular, you can customize it, right? I hope is that fine for everyone. Let me know if you're good with this so far. So there's another question. How to change any variable into a factor specific for the case when we need to plot a matrix where multiple groups, for example, plot different product versus sale in a specific order. Yes. So in that case, first we design, let's say you can use a pandas function, okay, and create some kind of the variables. So let's suppose that you want to create the particular, you want to calculate the percentage, okay. So accordingly, we have some variables like a total sales, and you can just apply the normal pandas or numpy formula to perform these operations, and store those information into the new variable. And after that, you can specify that variable in your plot sections to represent or to return graph. Or that is also, we'll also discuss later on multivariate analysis. In that, let's suppose as of now we are just taking a two different variable here. Let's suppose that you want to take it like a four variable or the five variables, okay, three variables, okay. Let's suppose that you want to analyze with respect to like a sales, or you want to check it, one is, you know, let's say here in the, we have information of the 1338 customer there, customers of an insurance company. Now you want to analyze the pattern between age or the BMI and the particular region, these three variable. So even you can also define the custom two y-axis and the particular two y variable. So let's suppose that here we have x-axis, upper part also you can take it x-axis, or this y-axis you can take it this left hand side horizontal line or right hand side horizontal line as a particular y-axis. Or here we'll also discuss later on one more library. This is something a Cbon, which is on the top of Matplotlib, and you can perform multivariate analysis very easily. You can plot different types of the graph and perform analysis over there. Okay, so now let's see this particular example here, all of you. So far here we just discussed like how to use a bar plot. So whenever you have one continuous variable and you just want to check the particular, if you want to get the statistic value, or you want to perform the, so you can use a particular box plot, or if you want to check it whether there's some outliers, or okay, so you can use a particular box plot. Pi, if you have one categorical variable, you can use a particular pi plot. Okay, and even you have a particular one categorical or continuous or the categorical variable, so use the particular bar plot. If you have a two continuous variables, so use a scatter. If you have one continuous variable, so use a particular histogram. If you have a two categorical variables, so we use a particular, in that case you can use a particular frequency table. Okay, and okay, if you have one normal single two variables, you can also use a particular line plot in that case. So we'll also discuss that how to, select the how to design some strategy, okay, to perform analysis on any data using a data visualization approach. And so far we discussed different types of the graph here, right? So like a Matplotlib, there's also one more library which is on the top of Matplotlib library, and widely it is used to perform analysis or to plot different types of the graph or information. We will discuss how to use this particular library and different function to analyze data. So like a Matplotlib, we discuss a different types of the graph here. Okay, there's one more thing. Here we are importing a CV2. CV2 library. So even you can also use a Matplotlib library to plot a different images or to visualize the images here. So you can read images. So CV2, it is used for the computer visions or to perform image processing on any image data. Okay. And here, let's import some image here. So img equals to cv2 dot imread. Now you can just specify the location of any image or the path of any image. So let's suppose that we have some image here that you want to visualize. So we'll take it this image. Okay. Okay. So here we are just importing the particular the CV2. And if you just check this particular shape of it, so img.shape. So we have one image and the shape of image is 232 cross 400 cross 3. So it's a 3-channel image, it's colorful images. Okay. So in real time, your image is also collection of images, a collection of pixels, and pixels value is represent the intensity of light. If you have a particular normal, so in real time, the pixels, images may be in the form of a binary images. Okay, so binary images is a black or white image, black and white images. Okay, in that your particular pixels value will be either 0 or 1. 0 is represent the black and 1 is something of white. Second is single channel image, which is something 8-bit image, and in that case your image will be the black and white shades format, black and white shades, and your the pixels value will in the range of 0 to the 255, and your image will 8-bit images. If you have color, so in that case your pixels value represent the single value only. So let's understand through some example, then again we'll visualize it here. So you see everyone. So image is a binary. So in this case, your pixels value will be either 0 or 1. 0 means a black, 1 means the particular, the white color. Okay. And if you have image is a particular single channel. Okay. So in this case, or the 8-bit image. So in this case, your pixels value will in the range of 0 to the 255. 0 is a black, 255 is a particular, the white. And your image is represent the particular the black and white shades format. In this case, let's suppose that if this is your particular image and the loss of the pixels, so every pixels value will every pixels contains single value only. Next is a color image. Color image is a 3-channel image. So in this case, it is also 8-bit images. So your pixels value will be in the range of 0 to the 255. But in this case, every pixels every pixels contain 3 different value, one for R, G, and B. So similar way here also, everyone, we have a particular 3-channel images. Okay. Okay, so we are just here we are just importing these libraries only. One is NumPy. So basically to plot the graph, we are using a Matplotlib library. Okay, the pandas to import some data set. And NumPy we are not using as of now, but we are using to create some array, right? To store the data in the form of the array. We are using NumPy. NumPy stands for numeric Python. We also use it to store the information in the form of array or to perform linear algebra or the calculus operations, statistic operations, we can use a NumPy. Pandas for data analysis. Okay, to import, export, data cleaning, we can use a pandas. Matplotlib library we are using for data visualization. Okay, and here, so here we have a 3-channel images. So if you want to visualize it, so plt dot. Now for image we use a function like I am so, everyone. For image we use a particular function I am so, and now here you can even if you can see here everyone img dot and dimension. So dimension is a 3 because here every pixels value will contain 3 different value. Even if you see everyone here, we have, you see that this is 3-channel images, and because it's a colorful images, so all the 8-bit image, so all the pixels value is in a range of 0 to the 255. If you just put it here 0, so it will be cv2 function, it will be read the image in the form of the particular single channel. So here we have a dimension is also the 2, and here you can see every pixels value will contain only the single value. So if you want to visualize it, so plt.im, so now img and the cmap equals to the gray, then plt.show. Cmap equals to gray, then plt.show. So everyone, we have a black and white format of the black and white shades format of the images because it's a single channel image. But if you just remove here like 0, now it will be read images in the form of the 3-channel. So in this case, you can directly visualize it. So plt.im. So, and if you pass this particular your image, then plt.show. By default, it's read the images into the BGR format. So we have a blue, the PGR format. But normally, if the image is RGB format, so we can, it will look like a very original format of the images. So we can even convert the BGR to RGB also using CV2. But using this way, in this way, you can use a particular. In this way, you can use a Matplotlib library. In this way, you can use a Matplotlib library to plot different images. Okay. I hope it is fine for everyone. Any questions so far? All good. Okay. Now we'll discuss and work some real data. So similar way like a Matplotlib, there's also one library like a Cbon. Okay. And using a Cbon library, also we can plot. So it is on the top of Matplotlib library, and it has a lots of functions, and easily you can use a different different types of the graph. We can easily plot it, perform interpretations, and we can using a Cbon. It's written the more interactive and beautiful graph compared to the Matplotlib library. So even in the real times, we use both Matplotlib and Cbon library to plot the different types of the graphs. Okay, and then we can save those particular graph and design some analytic report. So far we discussed different function of Matplotlib library, right? And we will use a Cbon library now, and we'll see that are different types of the graph. Okay, and then we will work on some more real data, business data, and use Matplotlib and Cbon library and perform some analysis on that. And in such way, we'll also discuss that how to design strategy, okay, to get some answers of the particular the business question, or how to implement data analysis using data visualization approach. And then finally, how to design some analytic report that we will also discuss. So now everyone, you can also import a Cbon library. So we are just importing a Cbon like a Matplotlib. Cbon is very powerful library, and we can use it to plot different types of to implement data visualization. Okay. So let's import a particular Cbon library. So now we are just using SNS. So you can use any alphabet, and so we'll import all the Cbon functions from the SNS. Okay. So here, so in that we discussed that how to plot the information or how to visualize the information using a Matplotlib library. So now let's suppose that here we have some data like df dot head, and it's contained the information of 1,338 customer of one insurance company. Okay. So here we will use Cbon library to perform analysis on that, and yeah. So let's suppose that you have particular age, a single variable like a age. Now you want to check the particular, you want to plot the, you want to check the distributions of the particular data. You have single variable is a age, which is the continuous variable, or like a charges, it is a continuous variable, and charges contain the annual charges of the health insurance of the 1338 customer. And now you want to check the particular the distributions of data so that you can extract the hidden information present in it. Now, using a matplotlib library, so we can use a plt.hist function or the matplotlib.pyplot.hist function to import that particular function to, to perform it. And now here we will use a Cbon library, because in the Cbon, like sns dot, now here you can use a particular hist plot. And again, you can specify your variable like a df charges. And then again the plt.show, because as we discussed, Cbon, it is on the top of Matplotlib library. Okay, so we can use the particular Matplotlib function along with Cbons. Okay, both we can be used it and plot some graph. So Cbon we are using to return the histogram, and the plt.show to visualize or to print this particular the graph. So here everyone, you can see we have a particular the charges. Okay, here we have a bar graph, and by default we don't need to define the x label and the y label, it automatically takes. So y axis we have a count or the frequency, and on the particular x axis we have particular charges. And you can see the distributions of the particular charges of 1338 customers of insurance company. And here all of you can see that most of the customer, their annual EMI for the health insurance is less, but there are also some customer for them the particular the EMI is very, very high. And even in the more statistic language, you can say it is highly skewed, highly particular positive skewed, or the right skewed in the statistic part. Okay, or in the through the data visualization, you can see that most of the customer, their health insurance or EMI for the particular health insurance is very less, but there are also some customers for them it is very, very high. And you can even specify the bin also. So everyone, you can also specify the bin. So let's suppose the total bin. So here you can see normally the width of the bin is approximate 0 to the 2k, but let's suppose you can also specify the bin width here. Okay, so let's suppose the number of the bins is a 20. So we have a 20 bins. Right. So you can also specify the bin number of the bin, like a fifth, like a particular only the 5. So we have a 5 bin only. Or you can also specify the particular bin width. So let's suppose that we have a width of bin. Let's suppose that you want to define the bin width is 1000. So it automatically takes it. Okay. So let's suppose that you want to define the bin width is approximate 5000. So 1k to the 5000 number of the customers, their AMI or their particular the charges is in the range of 1k to the 5k is approximate 450. Number of the customer, their charges is around to the 5k to the 12k, like that. Okay, so it's something maybe starting from 800. Okay, so the y-axis is the particular frequency, and x-axis we have a charges, and you can also specify the width of the bins, or you can also specify the number of the bins. Here you can also specify the color. Even color equals to the same y for the yellow, and we have yellow color format. Even you can also specify the particular the grid. So as we discussed, Cbon is on the top of Matplotlib, so you can also use some of the Matplotlib function with the Cbon library. So we have a grid as well. Right? So in this way you can specify this particular part. So I hope it's fine for everyone, this particular the histogram, right? Yes, you also need to install the particular, everyone, if you're trying to implement this particular CV2 library, so you also need to install first CV2 library. So CV2 is a particular, uh, libraries of Python that we use to perform image processing. And in the Python, if you want to install any library, so we use a particular pip function. Pip is a package manager, and using the pip function, you can install any library, any packages in the Python. Okay. So there's a different way that you can install it. You can use Anaconda prompt, and from there you can use the conda function. You can use the particular pip function as well to install any library and the packages in the Python. If you want to install it in the particular from Jupyter notebook, so the first exclamation mark and then pip space install, and now here you can just specify the name of library. So let's suppose that pandas, so it will be install the latest version of the library. So pip space exclamation mark pip space install space pandas. If you want to install the particular TensorFlow, okay, so in this way you can install the latest version of the TensorFlow also. You want to install the particular Python, so pip space install. So in the Python we have a different format, Python -cv2 or OpenCV or Python 3 OpenCV, you can be used it. Sometimes we use a pip3 also to represent the Python 3, or sometimes we use a pip also to represent the Python 2. So the Python has a two different versions, but we are using the Python 3. So sometimes we also use a pip3 to install any library for the Python 2, Python 3. Okay. So using a pip function, you can install any library and the packages in the Python. Okay. So to plot the particular so one more participant is facing some issue to plot the pie chart. Yes, how the Cbon takes the particular the y-axis and okay, no. So here particular team, you can see in the particular, you can also specify it automatic take the y-axis is the particular frequency and x-axis is your particular charges as we discussed here. So let's suppose that if you define on the y-axis, so y-axis is the particular your charges, default is x-axis, everyone. By default it takes the variable on the x-axis and the frequency on the other axis, which is something y. But you can also define your variable on the y-axis. So let's suppose that here we are defining the variable like a charges on the y-axis, so the frequency we are getting on the particular x-axis. If you're not define this particular part, so by default it takes on the particular x-axis and the frequency you will get on the particular y-axis, like in this way. Okay. And regarding to the pie chart, so everyone, you can see here we are just specifying, let's suppose that this is something x, and we are just specifying the x and y here. So let's suppose that we have x and y, this one. Now you can just take a plt.pie chart. First we are defining the y and the label equals to the x labels, and then it will be written the pie chart. Even you can drop this particular part as of now. So you see we have a particular the pie chart here. Let me just run this x and y again. So here we have particular, if you print here x and y, so x is this one and we have a y is this one, right? And you can see we are getting the particular pie chart here. So here x is this one and the y we have, and this is something a pie chart. You can also use the particular the bar plot. So x and y, then again you can define the bar plot and it will be written the particular the bar plot, or otherwise if you're using it for the pie chart, so it will be also represent the pie chart. So in the Cbon library, it's very powerful and more, the better graph is compared to the Matplotlib is written. So as you can see, we have a particular on the x-axis, we have defining the variable, and the y-axis automatic take the frequency. You can also define your variable on the y-axis, then again on the x-axis, it will be take a frequency or the count. You can define the bins, you can define the bin width, you can define the color, all these features that you can specify here. Right. Now let's take this particular part. So if you want to plot, if you want to do any kind of the customization, so we can also do this particular part on the same window. You can plot the multiple graph as well, and You can also perform some annotation. So if you, let's suppose that if you want to put some kind of the text, some label, so even it is also possible, you can also perform some kind of annotations here on the using a Matplotlib library or their function. You can also perform some annotation. So even let's see this particular part. Let's say we have a particular PLT and there is some x and y value. So let's suppose that here we have the x equals to uh, np dot lin space. Okay, and you can also specify, let's suppose that in the range of 0 to the particular uh, 0, 10, 30, and we have a print x. So we have a particular, okay, fine, and okay, print. So we have this value here. Okay, so let's suppose that here we can just plot the graph between plt dot plot between x and y is a particular np dot sign of the particular the x, then plt dot show. That okay. So we have just a kind of graph here. Nothing else. Yeah. My bad. Okay, let's take the same graph here. So I'll also show you that how to perform some annotations on the particular any graph using a Matplotlib function. Let's suppose it on the top you also want to print a frequency of it. Let's suppose it here we have a histogram. On the top of this particular, on the top of this particular the bar or this particular yellow graph, the bar, you want to print the particular the frequency of it. Okay, so even we can also use the particular annotations approach and we can perform this particular operation. No, you don't need to install any library here. It should return this particular part. Okay, and make sure that you're running this particular function. So after writing the any particular program, you can click here to run this particular cell or use the particular shift plus enter keyboard key to run it. Or even you can also to run this particular cell, just run it also from here. Run this cell or use the particular shift plus enter keyboard key to run individual cells. Okay. So here we have the particular the histograms of it. Now let's suppose that there is some category, there is some categorical variable like a region, a smoker, or children. Okay, some categorical variable like a region, smoker. And now if you want to check the particular frequency of it, or if you want to visualize this particular information, so in the Cbon we have a function like a count plot. And whenever you have one categorical variable and you want to check a frequency of it, so always use a particular count plot. So SNS dot count plot, and on the x-axis you can define, let's suppose that here over the x-axis we are defining a region, and now you can specify the data also. So data equals to your main data frame, which is a df, then plt dot show. So everyone, you can see here x-axis, so by automatic it's take a variable on the particular x-axis. By default it's take the variable on the x-axis. So region, it is contain the particular the four variables. So we have of all the four variable on the x-axis like southwest, southeast, northwest, and northeast, and the y-axis represent the frequency of it, right? So you can see the number of the customers from the southwest regions, number of the customers from the southeast region, the number of the customer from the northwest and the northeast region. So in the count plot, we have a particular, in the Cbon, we have a function like a count plot, right? And you can also specify the particular the y region. So it will be take on the particular y-axis, and the x-axis is the particular frequency. If you define on the particular the x-axis, so your x-axis is a particular your variable, and the y-axis will be the particular frequency, as you can see here. So whenever you have one categorical variable, always use this particular count plot. If you're using a particular continuous variable, so use a particular histogram to perform analysis on that. Okay. So let's suppose that we have one categorical and continuous, two continuous variable like age and the charges. Now you want to analyze the pattern between age and the charges. So both are continuous, right? So use a particular Cbon scatter plot. So in the Cbon also we have a scatter plot, and you can just specify, let's suppose that x-axis equals to the age, and on the y-axis you can define the particular charges, and data equals to your data frame. Then plt dot show. So we have a particular charges, x-axis is the particular age, y-axis is the particular charges, and you can see you don't need to define, if you're using a Cbon library, so you don't need to define the x label and the y label, and we have a particular the graph here, everyone you can see, right? So you don't need to define any particular x label or the y label here. So you can see there's a linear relationship between age and the charges. As age is increasing, annual charges for the health insurance is also increasing, but into the three different scale. Right? There are some customer when their age increasing, charges is also increasing in the scale of or in the range of 1K to the 10K. There are also some customer when their age is increasing, charges is also increasing in the range of 10 to the 20. And there are some customer when their age increasing, charges is also increasing in the range of 30K to 40K. Right. You can also change some, color part. Let's suppose that you can define the color equals to the red. So we have all this particular red color bubbles. You can also define as a particular yellow. So everything will be in the particular yellow color bubble. So you see. So whenever you have a two continuous variable, always use a scatter plot to check a relationship between them. Right. Now, if you have one categorical and one continuous variable, let's suppose that you have a particular age, and let's take it the particular, age and the particular charges in the region, charges and the particular region, charges and the particular region, one categorical and one continuous. So whenever you have one categorical or one continuous variable, so in that case, you can use a swarm plot, you can use a box plot. So in Cbon, in Matplotlib, there is some limitation. We don't have variety, different types of the graph, but you can create some custom graph in that. But in the Cbon, it's supposed to support lots of the different type of the graph, and you can use it to perform analysis or to represent your informations or to perform analysis on that. So that's why we widely use a Cbon library in real time to perform data analysis using a data visualization approach. So here we have Cbon dot. You can also use a box plot. So let's say x-axis equals to the region, and the y-axis you can just define it as a particular charges, and data equals to data frame df, then plt dot show. So everyone, you can see here we have a particular x-axis, which is something a region, and then the four variable southwest, southeast, northwest, and northeast. Y-axis charges. Okay. And here we have information in the form of the box, and you can see there are the too many outliers also in data, right? And again, you can also perform interpretations using, because it's a statistic graph, so you can compare it like number of the customers in the southwest regions, their a particular annual charges is in the range of the particular 1K to the 25 percentile value, and number of the customer, their charges is in the range of 25 percentile value to the 50 percentile value of the particular four the customer from all the four region, and number of the customers, their particular annual charges is in the range of the particular 50 percentile value to the 75 percentile value in the southwest and the southeast, northwest and the northeast region. You can just compare the distributions of data and we can extract information from it. So whenever you have one categorical and continuous variables, even if you have one continuous, you can use a box plot. If you have one categorical and one continuous, again you can use a box plot. Swarm plot. If you have one categorical and one continuous, so always you can also use the particular swarm plot. There's some warning here, so you can just ignore it as of now. So you can see we have x-axis is the particular region, y-axis is the particular charges, and x-axis contain the 4 different label: southwest, southeast, northwest, and northeast. And you can just check the particular distributions of value of all the particular regions here. The distributions of the charges of the customers into the every, from every region, and you can compare the value of it. So almost the pattern is look like same. You can say the charges is not highly dependent on the particular region, because the charges from the southwest customer, southeast customer, northwest customer, and northeast customer, their pattern is almost same. Right. So whenever you have one categorical and one continuous variable, always use a such kind of the information, such kind of a part, right? We can use this particular such kind of part. Yeah. Here you can also use a particular Cbon SNS dot pair plot, and in the pair plot, you can just directly pass your particular main data frame here, and it will be written the particular all different types of the particular the graph for it. Tuple is object is not callable, so here showing some error. But it should work. So let's see here. I think there's some error. Tuple object is not callable. So I don't think we're using somewhere tuple here. All right, we'll see. So SNS dot, let's suppose that I'm just taking some information. Let's suppose that A equals to, the list of age, charges, and particular the BMI. Okay, and SNS dot pair plot, you can just define the particular the DF of the particular the A. I think there's something issue with the Cbon version or maybe the Cbon library. I'll check it this particular part. So whenever you have one categorical and continuous variable, so you see everyone use a particular swarm plot, you can use a particular box plot, even the point plot also. So SNS dot point plot, and here you can specify x-axis equals to the particular your region, and you can also specify the particular y-axis is the particular charges, and data equals to the DF. Okay. So here we have particular these points represent the particular the average charges of the customers from all this particular region. So you can see the average charges of the customer from the southeast region is high compared to all these 3 regions. The midpoint is represent the particular the average charges, y-axis the particular charges, and x-axis is we have particular we have x-axis is the particular region, and the y-axis is the particular charges. So there is some question. Let me just check it. Could you please also show us example of interactive dashboard? Yes, Akshay, there may be some issue here, but again, we can try on the some new new data frame. It should be work. The pair plot is written the particular the graph between all the variables. So pair, it's take the age between children's age with the charges, age with the particular all the remaining variables and written the graph. Okay. So yes, we'll also see this particular part. So even how to perform analytic report, final report as well. Okay. So if you see, this is not a particular data reporting tool, very important. It is not the Python, it is not used to design some data reporting tool. We do mostly using Power BI and the Tableau. But using a Python, we can perform analysis using a Matplotlib and the Python pandas function. We can analyze, or the machine learning library. We can algorithms. We can perform analysis and design data-driven solution for them. For the final dashboard and real-time dashboards, we use a Power BI and a Tableau, such kind of a tools, which is the data reporting tools. We use it to analyze the real-time data or to get the real-time data and perform analysis. But to get a more deeper analysis and to perform data cleaning, data transformations, we use or to design some analytic report, we can use a Python programming. So that we will see that. Okay. So whenever you have one categorical and continuous, so you can use a point plot, sum plot, box plot, such kind of approach. If you have a two continuous, so you can use a particular this scatter also. So we'll also discuss that how to. So as of now, we discussed that if you have one categorical, so always use a histogram. You can use it the matplotlib function also, or you can use a Cbon function also. If you have particular, the one categorical variable, so use the count plot or use the particular pie chart. If you have one particular two continuous variable, so use a scatter. If you have one categorical and continuous, so in that case, you can use a histogram, bar plot, or even you can also use a particular histogram or sum plot, box plot, such kind of approach to perform analysis. If you have a two categorical, so we always use a particular frequency table to analyze it. Okay, and if you have particular two continuous or scatter, two categorical frequency table, one categorical, one continuous, so use a particular swarm plot, box plot, or point plot. Okay, if you have matrix format of information, so let's suppose that we are calculating a correlation between all continuous variable. Correlation, it is used also represent the particular strength of linear relationship between all the variable. So between normally the correlation always in the range of -1 to +1. If the correlation value is near to the -1 or the +1, it's represent the strong positive or the negative linear relationship between variable. If the correlation's value is near to the 0, so linear relations both are linearly independent. So correlation, we use it to check the linear relationship or to check the strength of linear relationship between the two different variable. And now when we are checking a correlation, we are getting such kind of a matrix format of the data. Now, in order to visualize it, so whenever you have a matrix format or table format of data, so you can also use the particular histogram, or sorry, hist plot, or sorry, my bad, heat map. So use a particular heat map, and you can define your particular correlation, and not equals to the 2, and then PRT dot so. So here, everyone, tuple is not callable. I think there's something issue with the data set. Let me import it again. There's something issue while we are loading data. Okay. Tuple object. I think there's something issue with the data set itself. Okay, let me show you here. I'll do one thing. I'm just going to import some other data set here. So let me take it the data 2 equals to, or data equals to pd.read_csv, and here I'll just paste the particular the path of any other data set. Okay. Let me check this. Let's take it this combined cycle power plant. So I'll just import this data set here and data.save. So we have this one. If we just take a particular data.head, everyone. So we have information on the temperature, vacuum, pressure, humidity, and energy output. But you can see when we are reading the data, all these are stored into the different variable, but we are getting a single column only because here the separator is a semicolon. So you can see all this thing is separated by the semicolon. And in the CSV, so by default, the separator is a comma because CSV stands for comma separated value. So you can do one thing is you can just specify the separator equals to the semicolon. Now we have very proper format. Now you can use a particular SNS dot pair plot also. Everyone, you can see we have a particular the pair plot, and you can just pass the particular your data, and it should return all this particular information. Okay, so the issue is not with the particular data. So issue is, I think, that maybe the version of the Cbon library. So I'll do one thing. Let me upgrade my particular version of the Cbon library. Pip space install Cbon again. Or otherwise, you can also do one thing is use the particular the collapse. So over there also we can just perform this particular operation. But let's see here. SNS dot pair plot. Now you can just pass the particular your data. I think there's some other dependency issue in maybe in my packages. Normally it should not show such kind of error. So maybe there's some dependency issue in my particular system. So what I'll be do that I'm just using this Colab. This is something virtual computer, and of the Jupyter notebook, which is hosted over the virtual computer, Google virtual computer, and we can use the Google computing resources to perform all the operation. So let me show you here. What I'll be do that I'll just load one data set on the Google Colab and perform the same operation. It should work. Okay, there's some issue maybe in the dependency issue in my system. That's why it's showing some kind of error here, but it should work here. Let's see. So the first I'll just upload a data set on this Colab, and then after we'll perform these operations. So let me load the same data set. I'll just take a instance data. And here you can just use the particular library like of import pandas as a PD, import matplotlib.pyplot, import, and data equals to pd.read_csv, and just copy the path of it from here. Then sns.pairplot. Here you can also use a prt.so, otherwise it's fine. So you see everyone, we have a particular the pair plot between all the graph. There's some dependency issue in my system, that's why we are getting some error, but same function is working here. So we have a graph between age and the charges. So pair plot, it just written the graph between all the variable. So we have graph between age and the charges, age and children, age and BMI, age and the particular age. We have this one. Similarly, we have BMI between children, BMI between children, BMI between BMI between the age, charges. So it's just a written the graph between all the variables, which contain the value in the form of a numeric. So all these variables contain the data in the form of numeric. So we're getting the graph between them, and then you can perform analysis, right? The same function that we are trying to perform it, but we are getting some error because there is some dependency issue. But now it's fine, everyone you can see. So whenever, if you have one particular, whenever the two continuous variable, always use the scatter. If you have one categorical and continuous, so you can use a particular swarm plot, and you can use such approach to perform analysis. So you see, we discussed that if you have a particular, so if we have a particular data dot correlation, it just written the particular the correlation part. And if you have information in the form of the matrix, so we use a particular the heat map of the Cbon library to visualize the information. Heat map, and you can just pass the correlation and n naught equals to the true. Then plt dot show. So the correlation is represent the strength of linear relationship between all the variable, and if the correlation is near to the -1, so between the variable there's a strong negative linear relationship. It means that if one variable value is more, another variable value is less, both is moving into the opposite direction. If the correlation values between the two different variables is near to the +1, so between them there is a strong linear relationship, both move into the same direction. If the correlation value is near to the 0, so both are linearly independent to each other, right? And this way we can perform interpretations and extract information. So far we discussed a different, how to use a Matplotlib and Cbon library and different function of it. Now in the second part, we will see that how to use this particular library, or how to use this scatter plot, or this pie or swarm, or different types of the count plot, okay, to perform analysis on any business data, and how to design some analytic report and to extract all the hidden patterns or information, or how to collect all the answers of all business question. So that's something we will be discussed in the second part. So I hope it is fine for everyone. Any questions so far?
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ashish, for a great start today morning. And I believe everyone has already learned, how to make their charts using Matplotlib. And in the afternoon session, we'll be continuing on to charts with Cbon. So for all those of you who are basically interested in upgrading the seat to the full course and continue on to tomorrow with machine learning, etc. on the course, please do upgrade your seat. The discount is there only for today. So you can grab your 66% off discounted price only for today. It's valid only till 5 p.m. So utilize this lunch break, grab your seats if you need to, and you can continue on to the sessions with learning machine learning from tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., and you can continue on to it. So let's take a quick lunch break right now, and we can be back into the session at 2 p.m. to continue seeing how we can plot better looking charts with Cbon. So Cbon and Matplotlib are very similar as libraries, but Cbon charts usually are very impressive looking. They look far better than how Matplotlib charts look. So let's get to it. We'll grab a quick lunch and we'll get back to it. And you can utilize this time also to upgrade your seats. And if you have any question, give us a call. Our phone number is there on the email you received. You can also have a chat with our WhatsApp chat bot, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have regarding to your seat upgrade. So let's have a quick lunch break, and we'll be back again at 2 p.m. sharp.